Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to do something a little different than what I typically do on the channel. As you know, if you watch me often, I paint a lot of animals, I paint a lot of plants. Sometimes I'll do some abstract stuff, but I don't do a lot of human portraits. And today we're going to be covering my process of making the painting that I made for Hilary for Christmas this year. And it is a portrait of her uncle and her mom, some of her favorite people on the planet. And we're just gonna kind of very quickly go through it, maybe some music, maybe a little bit of pointers, but I don't paint a lot of people often, so I don't know exactly how to teach you how to do it today, but we're gonna go through the process and we're gonna see how we do. All right, so once we get started here, the first thing you're gonna notice is that I already have everybody drawn onto my paper. That's just for the sake of the video. I spent a lot of time drawing these guys in and erasing them and drawing them and erasing them, and it was a pain in the butt. And I don't think it would make for a very good video. However, the important thing that you need to know is that when I'm drawing a person, I'm not as concerned with getting every detail perfectly accurate as I am with just getting the general proportions correct. So if this person has a fairly long nose compared to what you would expect normally to be the case, maybe I'll make it a little bit longer than normal so you can get the essence of them as opposed to just some generic face. I think that's kind of the easiest way to describe it. So I exaggerate some features very slightly just to ensure that those features stand out when I'm finished with the painting, because that's how you would describe a person. Like I'm thinking like, let's see here. For example, Adrian Brody, if you know who that is, he's an actor. He has a very long, skinny nose and a very long face. I would make his nose a little longer and I'd make his face a little thinner. And that would accentuate the details and the general proportions to help get and convey a better image of who I'm trying to paint. So you can see normally I start with my backgrounds and then I go forward. But for this painting, I wanted to kind of do their faces first. So I didn't waste my time painting a background and then mess up their faces and have to restart. So I'm going to start with the hard part initially on this painting. But you can kind of see I'm putting some general colors in. They're very light to begin with. I want to, and I intend to, layer to make things darker. That just saves me from going too dark initially. So everything is a little too light, then I can darken it slowly instead of going dark right away and making it messed up. Other than that, general color tones are just kind of a rule of thumb that I typically use. Is anything around your nose or your cheeks or your eyes is going to be a little bit more red, because typically that's where most of the blood in your face is going. You've got a lot of fatty deposits in your cheeks and in your nose, and there's a lot of blood vessels in there. Same with your ears. Your ears are usually pretty red. And then for men, more so than women, down below your cheeks into your chin and just above your lips is typically a little more blue. And then your forehead area, which is very thin skin, is usually more yellow. Obviously, I'm not going to paint red, yellow, and blue on somebody's face, but that kind of helps me to judge where my colors should be leaning toward based on where they are on the face. Here you can see me adding some more layers to the dark areas of Hilary's face and her hair so that I can darken things up properly. And then once I'm done with that, you should see me hopefully around this time when I'm talking. I'll probably have to cut myself up to make it make sense. But eventually I'm going to go in and add some pens. Now, you know, if you watched any of my videos before, I love to do this step. It kind of really brings the whole painting together. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to so much as a hard outline this time as I'm going to kind of suggest edges of things with the pen. And so her eyes and her eyelashes, maybe it will have a little bit more pen than her nose, or than some spots in her hair or on her cheeks. I don't need to do super hard lines everywhere, because the more lines you put in somebody's face, the older and wrinklier they're going to look. But you can see the most detail in this painting is going to be right around her eyes, and that is intentional. Because when we're looking at a human face, the thing that we typically focus on first is the eyes. And so if I've got a high level of contrast and a high level of detail in the area that her eyes are in, it's going to help sell the whole painting as more realistic than it actually is. All right, so that's kind of it for Hilary. So now we're going to move on to the left to Uncle Bill, and it's basically the same process. Like you saw with Hilary, I'm going to go lightly in with the colors and get closer to the right colors and tones, basically wherever I need them, and then I will darken from there. For Uncle Bill, I think I did a better job of having nice warm shadows. Now, typically, when you think of a shadow, maybe if you're not so artistically inclined, you're like, okay, just darken whatever color is there. However, this can make a painting look really flat or really dull. Especially with humans, it's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more good looking in a painting if you make the shadows kind of a warmer tone. So for example, in real life, this shadow is not very warm on my face. This shadow is not very warm on my face. However, if I were painting it, I would make it a warmer color, and that's just going to give it more life to the painting. Those dull colors, they kind of suck the blood and suck the life out of a painting. And a painting's already not alive, right? And so if I use warmer shadows, that's going to help me to make and my painting seem like it's got blood flowing underneath the skin, make it seem a little more alive. So Uncle Bill's hair is basically white. And if you've seen my videos before, in order to make something look white, you kind of have to work with the background around it. So you can kind of see, I just painted a very light gray tone in his hair for now. And then when I come through to the background later, I'm going to make sure that whatever color is behind Uncle Bill is pretty dark so that his hair seems white based off of the difference between it and the background.
But I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness.
Okay, moving on to our final person. This is Hilary's mom, Joan. I've actually never met Joan, unfortunately. She passed before I met Hilary. But for the sake of this painting, I had to go find a picture of her. And so this is a photo of her that I'm using for reference that I found on Hilary's Facebook. And I don't know certain things, like what color her eyes were per se, exactly how she wore makeup or didn't wear makeup, or what color her hair was most commonly. But all I have, unfortunately, is this photo to go off of. And that is something that not a lot of people think about. It's important when you're making a portrait, especially, to have good reference photos. It makes it a lot harder. There's not so many things that you can learn from a poor quality photo as you would obviously be able to learn from a higher quality photo or a group of photos. So that's something that when I'm painting pet portraits, I often deal with people. They have a couple photos that they like, or they can't pick a photo that they like, or there's one specific photo that they want me to paint that's not a good photo. And sometimes you have to just explain to somebody, hey, this isn't going to work for the painting that I'm trying to make. Fortunately, I had enough information from Hilary's Facebook that I could get a good portrait of Joan, her mom. But sometimes you're just going to have to figure something out. When I have people who want a pet portrait and can't decide between a couple, I have them show me their top 3, top 4, something like that. And I'll pick for them which one makes for the best painting. And that's something that not a lot of people think about. Just because a photo is a cute photo doesn't mean it'll translate into a good painting.
wish I knew.
Okay, moving now on to the background. So Hilary's favorite color is green, and Uncle Bill used to always wear this yellow shirt that I painted him in. And so I figure, since I have already green and yellow, that it would be good for Joan's shirt to be blue. And since I have yellow, green, blue, I thought that it would make for a good background that is kind of cohesive with the whole painting itself if I did yellow behind Joan and blue behind Bill and yellow, so that it's nice and dark behind his hair, and then we'll keep green in the middle for Hilary. And so that's what I did. So I went from yellow to green to blue, going across the painting itself. I think it works well because everybody gets, a little bit more contrast behind them than they had to begin with. And this is going to be kind of more for a cohesive painting. So the background won't stand out too much from the characters in the foreground.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya.
Okay, so here's a picture of the painting finished, and then because it was a present for Hilary for Christmas, I also filmed the process of me wrapping it, so you get to watch me struggle with wrapping paper. So we only have a few different types of wrapping paper. The one I went with was this silvery one that you can see me pulling out here. And whenever I wrap a painting, I try to keep the good side of the painting on the good side of the wrapping paper. So I measure out what's going to fit around my painting, and I make sure that it's face down, and I wrap and tape onto the back of it. This is not necessarily for any particular reason. I just think it looks better that way. And Hilary, I know for sure, opens paintings, or not paintings, opens presents from the tape side. So I know that she's going to open it up and then be looking at the back of the painting and have to flip it around to get the full reveal all at once, which makes for a better experience. So I'm just going to finish wrapping this up, and I'm going to throw this under the tree. And then obviously I'm in the future from when I made this. We've already had Christmas. She loved the painting. Maybe I'll get a couple pictures of her holding it, and we'll finish this video up. So let's cut to my outro. Okay, that's going to do it for today. Here is our final painting. A little bit too much glare, but we will get some better photos of it in a minute. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.